Hello, friends. I'm Orville Stanton, and I oversee the Caring Ministries. It is my blessing to share today's Hope devotion with you out of Isaiah 37. Has your faith ever been challenged by overwhelming circumstances? Do you feel like you live in a world that often tests your faith? I have felt that way. We find King Hezekiah having one of those days in chapter 36 and 37, as the Assyrian king is at his doorstep, challenging the Lord by saying that he will not be able to deliver them, because he is no greater than all the other gods who have failed the nations. The king challenges Hezekiah that the Assyrians have conquered them all and demands him to unconditionally surrender Judah. Let's take a look at what Hezekiah did and turned his very bad, no good, horrible day into a very good one. We see in verse 1 that he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and went into the temple of the Lord. First, he humbled himself, not boasting of his own control, but he is torn up and uncomfortable and goes to the Lord. Then he sends his palace administrator, secretary, and the leading priest, all wearing sackcloth, to Isaiah the prophet to hear from the Lord. Now we find Hezekiah humbles himself before those who look up to him and gives them the example to seek God in his word first. God gives him the promise of his help through Isaiah, tells him not to be afraid of what you have heard, but listen. The king will hear a certain report and will return to his own country, and he will be cut down with the sword. Now Hezekiah has a promise from God to hold on to, even though he doesn't have all the details, how it will all come down. But the promise gives him a handle of hope to put his faith on. Then Hezekiah gets a letter from the field commander that sends him into the temple. And he prays as he lays the letter of accusations against the Lord in front of him. Then he gets a message back from God by the way of Isaiah, which gives a second assurance that God's divine monarch will be crushed. The angel of the Lord goes out, puts to death 185,000 of the Assyrians in the camp. The king of Assyria leaves to his country, meets his death by the assassination by two of his sons. Let's look at the steps of Hezekiah did, which I'm calling the praying it through steps. First of all, a humble surrendering to the Lord, not to fear, as seen Hezekiah tearing his clothes, putting on sackcloth, and going to the temple. Second was humbly seeking God's word and not putting up a front that he had it all together, even as he sent the messengers to Isaiah. 3, humbly receive promises of hope from God's word and boldly putting faith in it. 4th, humbly continue to pray through. Even if the trouble continues, listen to God's word of encouragement. Keep your eyes open for God's salvation. And a lot of times it's just right around the corner. It's just almost there. We just got to stay on the horse, so to speak, until we can make it to the destination of answered prayer. And continue to be encouraged by God's word, by other believers. Keep your faith up. Well, stay in faith-filled prayer. Pray it through to the victory. Looking forward to seeing you in church. God bless you. you.